Let me tell you something that will probably feel wrong the first time you hear it. The greatest danger to your home has never lived outside your walls. It has never come through the door in the night. It has never crossed the field with bad intentions. It does not knock. It is already inside. I know how that sounds, and I know the feeling that made you stop to listen. That quiet tiredness in a house that should feel like rest, but somehow doesn't. That heaviness you cannot name. You clean, you fix, you arrange the furniture, and still, something sits in the air that no broom can sweep away. Many carry that weight. I carried it too, for more winters than I care to count. And here is the thing the old ones understood, the thing that changed everything for me. What looks like a burden may be hiding the very thing you have been searching for. Peace was never something you had to build. It was something you had to stop poisoning. How can a quiet house feel so unquiet? How can walls that keep out the wind fail to keep out the sorrow? Before I answer that, I need to show you why our grandfathers watched the inside of a home far more carefully than the outside. Because they knew something we have forgotten, that a house holds more than people. It holds everything the people bring into it. Sit with me a while. There are 7 things I was taught never to keep inside these walls. And by the end, you may look around your own home differently than you ever have. Let me begin where the old teaching begins. My grandfather once kept a knife that had been used in a moment of great anger, not by him, but by a man he no longer spoke to. For years it sat in a drawer. He never used it. He barely looked at it, but he told me, "Every time I open that drawer, I feel the day it was made ugly." The teachings passed to me held that objects are not empty. They gather. A cup gathers the mornings you drank from it. A blanket gathers the nights you slept beneath it. And a thing born in hatred, or held during suffering, keeps a little of that storm folded inside it. Now, I am not asking you to believe in spirits if that is not your way. Think of it however you must. Even the modern mind agrees. We remember through objects. A gift from someone who hurt you. A photograph from a season of grief. A thing you kept only because throwing it away felt like admitting a wound. You walk past it every day. And every day, without knowing, your heart bows a little toward that old pain. Have you ever felt worse in one room of your house and never understood why? Perhaps there is something in that room you have stopped truly seeing. Hold that thought, because it connects to the next teaching in a way most people never notice. Here is something the old ones believed that sounds strange to modern ears. They said a home remembers what is spoken in it. Not on paper, not in the walls exactly, but in the feeling, the way a room where cruel words were shouted seems to hold its breath afterward, the way children go quiet in a house heavy with unspoken anger without anyone telling them to. I have seen 2 homes with the same furniture, the same size, the same light through the windows. In one, you wanted to stay. In the other, you wanted to leave. The difference was never in the wood or the stone. It was in the words that had been living there. A promise broken and never mended. A harsh thing said and never taken back. These do not vanish when the voice goes silent. They settle. They become the weather of the home. Our grandfathers taught that you must tend your words the way you tend a fire, because both can warm a family and both can burn one to the ground. Still water loses its strength, and words left to rot do the same to a home. Maybe this is happening in a house you know. Maybe you have felt it and called it something else. Stress, tiredness, just how things are. But before I go further, I want to share something with you. Many of the reflections I have been keeping over the years about growing old, about inner peace, about silence, and about the lessons the modern world has forgotten, I gathered into a small book called The Last Teachings. It is a simple conversation, written the same way an elder would speak to someone sitting quietly beside him. If you would like to know these teachings more deeply, you will find the link in the first comment. Now, come back and sit with me. There is more to understand. Let me tell you about the day my grandmother scolded me. one of the few times I ever saw her truly stern. I had left a sacred object on the floor. To me it was only a thing. To her it was a doorway. She said, "It is not that the object needs your respect, it is that you need the habit of giving it." I have carried that sentence my whole life. Different peoples held different things as sacred, and I will not pretend one way was the way of all. Our nations were many, and their ways were their own. But nearly all of them agreed on this quiet truth. How you treat what is holy is how you train your own heart. When a sacred thing, a feather, a stone, a symbol of your faith, a keepsake blessed by someone you loved, is tossed aside, stepped over, left in the dust, something in you grows careless too. The disrespect is not really to the object. It is to the part of yourself that once knew how to kneel. A home where nothing is treated as sacred slowly becomes a home where nothing is treated as precious. Not the objects, not the moments, not the people. The fire warms only the one who learns to approach it, and reverence is the same. It gives its warmth only to the one who bows. Ask yourself gently, is there anything left in your home that you still treat as sacred? Because the next teaching is about what happens when the answer becomes no. Now I must speak of something you will recognize the moment I name it. Too much. The old ones lived close to the land, and the land teaches a hard, honest lesson. Take only what you need, and give the rest a chance to return. A hunter who took more than he could use did not become rich. He became a man the animals learned to flee. But we have forgotten this in our homes. We fill them, drawer after drawer, corner after corner. Things we bought and never touched. Things we keep in case of a someday that never arrives. And we tell ourselves this is abundance. My grandfather would have called it something else. He would have said, "A house so full has no room left for peace to sit down." There is a weight to clutter that has nothing to do with dust. Every unused thing is a small unfinished decision. 100 of them, and your mind lives in a house that is always whispering, "Deal with me, deal with me." And waste, throwing away what is still good, letting food spoil, treating what you have as worthless because more is always coming. The teachings held that this insults the very spirit of provision. When you waste freely, you are telling the world you do not value what you are given. And the world, they said, has a long memory for that. The tree does not grow by staring at another tree. And a home does not find peace by chasing more of everything. Look around the room you are in right now. Truly look. How much of what surrounds you is actually serving you? And how much are you simply serving? Sit with that, because the next teaching goes deeper than objects. It goes into the people they came from. This is the teaching people resist the most. So let me tell it as it was told to me. A gift is never only a gift. The old ones taught that when someone gives you something, a thread is tied between you and them. A quiet thread. Most of the time, that thread is beautiful. It carries love, memory, connection across distance and even across death. But a thread carries what is on both ends. If a gift comes from a hand that also brought you harm, from a relationship marked by cruelty, by violence, by a conflict that cut you deeply, then that object becomes a knot. Every time you see it, the thread pulls. It ties you, gently and constantly, to the very thing you are trying to heal from. You may think you have moved on, but a piece of that person still sits on your shelf, still hangs on your wall, still lives in your house, watching in its silent way. My grandmother once returned a beautiful blanket to the family it came from. It was warm, it was well made. Anyone would have wanted it, and she gave it back because she said, "I will not sleep every night under the hands that struck my sister." I did not understand it then. I understand it now. This is not superstition, if that word troubles you. Even without any belief in threads or spirits, we know this in our bones. The objects tied to the people who wounded us keep the wound reachable. They keep the door to that pain slightly open. Have you kept something like that? something you never liked but never let go of, because letting go felt like losing an argument you never got to finish. You may be keeping the argument alive by keeping the gift, and this brings us to the two teachings that matter most of all. Stay with me, because these last ones are the roots that hold the others up. Now we come close to the heart of it. In the ways passed to me, a home was never only the living. It was a meeting place, where those who came before still had a seat at the fire, even if you could no longer see them. The elders, the grandparents, the ones whose hands built the very idea of your family long before you drew breath. To disrespect them, to speak of them with contempt, to erase their memory, to treat the old ones still living as burdens instead of blessings. The teachings held this as the deepest wound a home could carry, because you were not only insulting a person, you were cutting the root of your own tree. The tree that forgets its roots is the first to fall in the storm. I watched this happen in families. A grandmother pushed aside, spoken over, treated as if her long life had made her small. And I watched what it did to the children who saw it. They learned without a single word being taught that a person's worth ends when their usefulness ends. And one day those children grow up, and they remember the lesson, and they do to their parents exactly what they saw done. The memory of a family is not kept in photographs. It is kept in how the young are taught to treat the old. When you honor the ones who came before, when you speak their names with warmth, when you make room at the table for the elder, when you let the grandmother tell her story one more time even though you've heard it, you are not being sentimental. You are teaching your own children how they will one day be treated by theirs. Perhaps you have felt this pull already. A phone call you keep meaning to make. An old one who is waiting, quietly, to be remembered. You already know what this teaching is asking of you. If these words have touched your heart, you may wish to know the last teachings. In it, I gathered some of the most important lessons on loneliness, on relationships, on inner peace, and on what truly matters as the years pass. And as a gift, you will also receive freely a special teaching called The Secrets of the First Hour, about the quiet habits that many elders held sacred for the beginning of each day. The link is in the first comment. Now, come close. This last teaching is the one I most want you to carry. Here is the last thing I was taught never to keep inside my house. Not an object this time, something quieter and far more dangerous. A heart that has stopped saying thank you. The old ones woke and gave thanks before they gave anything else. Not because the world demanded it, but because they understood a secret we have almost entirely lost. That gratitude is not a reward for a good life. Gratitude is what makes a life good. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine two men living in the very same house. Same walls, same roof, same bread on the same table. The first wakes and sees only what is missing. The narrow rooms, the old floor, the things his neighbor has that he does not. His home shrinks around him a little more each day, until it feels like a cage. The second wakes and sees a roof that kept out the rain, a door that kept his family safe through the night, a table that has never once been empty, and his home grows around him, until even its smallest corner feels like a blessing. Same house, two entirely different lives. The mountains never argue with the wind, they simply stand, grateful to be mountains. And the one who learns to be grateful for what he has stops being ruled by what he lacks. A home where no one gives thanks becomes a home where nothing is ever enough. And a home where nothing is enough is the loneliest place a person can live, no matter how full the rooms, no matter how many people gather there. This is why gratitude was the first teaching and the last. It is the thread that ties all the others together. You clear out the objects of hatred, you tend your words, you honor the sacred, you release what you do not need, you cut the ties to those who harmed you, you remember your ancestors. And then finally you give thanks for the home that remains, because a home is not the walls. It never was. A home is what you choose to keep inside them, so now you have them. The 7 things I was taught never to keep inside these walls, but I will tell you the truth the old ones knew, the one hidden beneath all 7. None of them were ever really about the objects, the knife, the gift, the clutter, the broken promise. These were only mirrors. Each one showed a person something about the state of their own heart. The teachings were never asking you to protect your house. They were asking you to protect the person you become inside it. That heaviness you felt at the very beginning, the one that made you stop and listen, it was never a curse on your home. It was a message from it. Your home has been trying to tell you what it is holding. And now, for the first time, you know how to listen. So tonight, when the house grows quiet, walk through it slowly. Look at what you have kept. Ask of each thing, of each habit, of each old wound still hanging on the wall. Are you here because I love you, or only because I forgot to let you go? The moment you begin asking that question, something changes. The house feels lighter, the air moves again, and that peace you thought you had lost, you will realize it was never gone. It was only buried beneath everything you were never taught to release. You were not searching for a more beautiful home. You were searching for a lighter one, and now you know the way back to it. Walk gently, and keep only what is worthy of the space it takes.